have had enough points to win.
But what color was your pee?
It's black.
So
As black as my soul? Are you pointing at me and my soul?
Interesting. You think Brent has the capacity to beat Matt?
100%.
Really?
He's proven it.
White Walker's ridiculous. Let me get on my dragon.
Welcome to this episode of Scale is Needed.
You're right. Fuck gypsies.
The conversation we were having before got real fucking heated. We're going to have to take a second
And talk about
just
the 1990, let's say, 7 film Thinner.
No.
Adapted from a Stephen King book. Thinner.
No.
This is why fuck gypsies, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the entire premise of Thinner, a lawyer
Do not want.
runs over an old
Do
woman.
not
No,
want.
you'll like this because it's actually relevant to this podcast.
Uh-oh.
For those of you who are slightly older than Armin, you know that Thinner, a rotund lawyer, runs over an old lady with his car, an old gypsy woman, and her husband curses him by touching him on the cheek and saying, "Thinner." And he begins to get thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner till he begins to waste away to nothing. And before he becomes dust, he has to figure out a way to break the curse. It is literally a horror story about a guy getting thinner. Yes.
That's-
So it's my dream. See, there he is.
Yeah,
That's
I love
incredible.
so do yourself a favor, pull up the trailer,
What?
take a look at this. Because I love all of these shots of, do you see, this man is very large. The
Shoveling
scale is hitting
spaghetti
this
into his
thing.
mouth. Oh, yeah, he runs over the old lady because his wife tries to give him a blowjob while they're
Yes!
driving. Wait,
Remember when
boom.
that happened a bunch
Oh.
in movies?
Oh, here it
Wait,
comes.
so he kills a gypsy,
Kills gypsy.
and the gypsy's husband
There
casts
he
a
goes.
spell.
Thinner.
Thinner.
Ooh, photo negative.
Photo negative.
That's how you know it's scary.
Yeah.
The gypsy, of course, played by Billy Crystal, recreating
Look,
his
wait,
goal.
see, he's getting thinner, you see.
Wow.
Thinner.
Wait, who's the guy who played? Oh no! Look at him getting thinner and thinner until he's just a skeleton.
Interestingly enough, this movie was also written while the writer was on paint thinner.
There you go.
But it's like, if
And
you're
Joe Mantegna's in it.
I changed my opinion of gypsies though based on this, because I really do need to run into a gypsy to have that curse put upon me, because I'd be fine with dying if I could be thin for like just a few days. Where I'd be optimal thinness. I get too thin eventually, but there'd be a good like 3 or 4 days where I could
Directed
get abs,
by
solid
Tom
abs.
Holland, who plays Spider-Man.
No, this is the other Tom Holland.
No, see, actually,
His great grandfather of the same name.
I love Cliff.
Tom Holland, who directed one of the best horror films of all time, Fright Night.
So I love Cliff's whole thing here because he assumes, and I think this is how he assumes all of his like workout programs will work out, like that. You know, it's like, oh, well, I'll just get thinner and the muscle will stay the same and all of this will stay. It's like, no, your muscle would disappear immediately. That would be the thing. Like, if you got the thinner curse, it would be like muscle gone. You look like an emaciated marathon runner.
I think there would be 1 or 2 good days there where I could get a sick Instagram post, get a tan on, have some abs.
Which is really all any diet we're trying to achieve is like 1 or 2 days of a fit body before then saying success and then immediately just destroying my body again. Which is what I've been doing diet-wise for the past 10 years. Like I'll get on the ball, start exercising, eating clean, lose weight, and then pretty soon I'm like, I'm pretty sure I have this weight gaining and losing thing licked, so I could probably order a pizza, and then I order that pizza and 100 more pizzas until I'm fat again, and then I say I need to change gears.
You order the pizza and then you wake up 2 years later another 70 pounds heavier.
That's
and you're
pretty
like,
much what it
"Fuck,
feels like. Yeah,
what happened?
that's pretty much
Oh
it.
shit, 700 pizzas was maybe too many pizzas.
When I was still living with both of you, my favorite diet plan you guys always had was the thing where it's like, all right, cool, you know, I am counting my carbs. My carbs will be no less than like 10 carbs a day. This will be my thing. And you make it through the week and you're very ornery and things are happening. And then the weekend hits. And it's like, cool, we did 10 carbs a day. It's awesome. Now cut to Sunday morning, buried in pizza boxes, Oreos, like literally everything under the fucking sun.
Well, of course, after 5 days of 10 carbs a day, you need to refeed.
Yes, that's
And
it.
then-
Daniel's making fun of that, but that is
hitting
a
Monday,
perfect.
hitting Monday,
that
going,
is-
it begins again.
Yeah,
That is glycogen replenishment.
yes.
That's right. Which you both,
cycle.
of course, need.
Need it. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
very important.
Daniel's making fun of that bullshit, but I was about 50 pounds lighter then, so I think that that is a successful eating strategy.
Yeah, that I do have to say, some days like today, you know, I came in for a 9 a.m. meeting. Melissa had brought donuts, but then so I was like, no donuts. Then there were tacos brought in. Man, I really would have liked a taco, but I didn't have one. And so, and that tension caused me to develop the theory, like, what if it's really just about, like, just because all these other people they eat the taco, they eat the donut, but maybe they don't binge on the weekends. So that at one point, maybe about 2 years ago, I decided maybe it's these extremes that are really pushing me to this. So what if I just allowed a healthy, like regular, normal human being level of carbs in on a regular basis, so long as I wasn't freaking out and eating whole pizzas and donuts and things. So I would have the occasional sandwich, I'd eat a taco or whatever, and the net result of that was I got fatter than I've ever been in my entire life. You know, that eating a sensible, normal person diet, I was able to confirm, just means me getting really, really fat. So for everyone who pokes fun at me for like saying no to donuts and no to tacos, it's really the only thing that's holding back the tide of fat.
So what you're telling me is you scientifically were able to prove that eating shitty all the time is more dangerous than eating shitty some of the time.
Empirically, yes.
Wow. That is, I mean, can we just close the book on dietary science? We no longer need to study any nutrition. I think we've gotten it down at this point.
Someone call Gary Taubes as I open my second Fresca.
Well, there's no carbs in that, so
That's right.
you're
There's
good to
just
go.
a lot of aspartame.
Yeah, chemicals are fine. It doesn't matter.
No, well, see, the cancer will make you thinner.
Oh, yes.
At some point. You know, the toughest thing is eating well. No, I mean, you know what? I'm gonna roll that phrase back a couple degrees. The toughest thing is not eating exceptionally shitty.
Yes.
Because really, eating well, you're asking too much.
Yes.
99% of humanity is not eating well. The other 1% is starving, so they're not eating at all.
Yes.
So in reality, what we're asking when we're saying eating well is no one's doing it.
Yes.
Just not eating shitty is a tough enough goal for a normal human being to accomplish.
Well, it's all of our meals that we're used to eating on a daily basis are just these big, basically like these short-term insulin spikes and carbs and flour and sugar, these things that satisfy us and momentarily relieve the stress of the day.
Of being alive.
Of being alive, exactly.
Of course.
And so people, I think, and I'm certainly guilty of this myself. I eat as an attempt to regulate my bad moods more so than I eat out of hunger. I was watching a video while I was pooping just a moment ago, and
as most videos are consumed.
And it was a silly video of a mom, and I never quite get this when it's like kids crying and like their parents are just filming them. But it was one of those videos. So it was just
They
a mom,
watch it so that you can have something to watch while you're pooping.
But and what was silly about this video was that there was this girl who was this like maybe 3 or 4 year old girl who's just sobbing and like throwing a fit, and she's like, and the little girl is screaming, and this is where the funny part is. She's like, I can't stop thinking about waffles. She's screaming. And and she's like, I just want waffles. And the mom was like, you had waffles for breakfast. You had waffles for lunch. We're going to have something different for dinner. I want waffles. And everyone's like, it's silly because the girl loves waffles and she's throwing a fit. But if there's a different reading of that same video, which is this is a girl who had waffles for breakfast and had waffles for lunch and is now actually experiencing a chemical withdrawal from that huge punch of sugar and flour. So it's basically her parents have pumped her full of poison, and now that she's experiencing an actual withdrawal symptoms from not getting another hit of that same poison, they're kind of laughing and filming her and putting the video on Facebook. It's dark shit.
Is it stranger that they're laughing and filming her and putting it on Facebook for your entertainment, or that you're one of these psychopaths that goes into a stall in the work restroom to take a shit and watches videos with volume on?
What are you supposed to do in the bathroom besides
You live inside of a silent cage of shame as you shit.
Yes.
That is what you do. You don't communicate.
I'm very chill with my poops.
You don't answer the fucking phone. You don't watch videos with audio. You
pretend
you're not there. You pretend you're just a pair of shoes with socks stood up in them.
All right, so this is like a fucking epidemic at this company, by the way, because the amount of times I have walked into the bathroom to take a shit, and someone has been either like watching a video with the sound on, or taking a fucking phone call. Or
blows my
playing
mind.
a goddamn video game
Dude.
with the sound on.
None of this bothers me.
Astounding.
The phone call thing blows my mind
phone call
because
is
it
insane,
happens
right?
once a week at least.
Yes.
I'm doing my shameful business. And
I'm making the devil's porridge.
which is never just right, by the way. It's always
It's always too hot or too cold, too soft or too firm.
too hot or too cold.
And sometimes it's just straight up soup.
Yeah. So and someone, the goes off, the phone starts ringing, and without fucking exception, someone answers the phone. Hey, I'm busy right now. Let me call you in a couple minutes. Just don't answer the fucking phone.
No.
There's even a text message reply with the text message. Can I call you back? It's one of the fucking automated responses.
But no. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about specifically is I'm literally taking a shit. I hear from a stall over. It's like, hey. Oh yeah. No. So So all right. So where we're at on this thing.
Oh
is
God.
And they have the fucking conversation in the stall.
I feel like if the next time I'm presented with that situation where I am in the stall and someone in one of the very few pooping stalls in the office. By the way, we have hundreds of employees and 3 stalls. So there's constantly a line for people, especially after lunch. There's like a line out the door to take a shit.
You need to find the downtime.
That's
There's certain hours of the day where, yes, it's just all shitting all the time, where I don't even go in there to piss, frankly, because I cannot walk into
because someone's shitting
sauna,
in the urinal.
A sauna of shit smell is not what I'm into.
The next time that happens, I hope that I have the courage while someone else is on the phone to just go, oh God.
Hot.
No. See, you need to do that.
Oh, what's going on over there?
Especially if you recognize the voice of the person on the phone, and you do the whole fucking thing like, whoa, man, Tony, that was insane.
Yeah.
Who does number 2 work for? Yeah, you tell that turd who's boss.
While that would be fun to do in order to fuck with the person who's on the phone, the problem there is the same problem you encounter when actually shitting in the bathroom, is that often if you're shitting in the bathroom, you're hesitant to make a lot of noise because I'm always aware, at least, that I may still have to make eye contact with one of the other people in the restroom when I get out of there. So I always try to, if I do make a lot of noise, I make sure that whoever else is in the bathroom with me, leaves first. So I don't have to make eye contact.
And wait until you hear the hand dryer.
Yeah.
You wait until your hand dryer and you're like, oh.
So that hand dryer is very useful towards that end. I often wait. It's like something's coming. I'm going to wait for the hand dryer to get hand dryer kicks in.
No, so I love it because I also use the hand dryer technique.
So much
however, I'm imagining Cliff with like a little periscope that like peeks over the stall. It's like, oh, coast is clear. Good.
Now, this is also a common problem in CrossFit gyms across the world because if those gyms are like any of the other gyms that I've ever gone to,
tiny closet bathroom.
they have one tiny closet bathroom that everyone shares. So it could be like, okay, guys, we're gonna start the workout. Everyone ready? Like, oh no, hold on, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then you go
to nervous pee.
You like try and open the door and it's locked. And you're like, wait a second, what's going on? And then the cute chick who goes to the same class as you just walked out. And you're like, oh fuck,
those abs come at a price.
God damn it! How much fiber do you eat, lady?
That
More
was,
like Paley. No.
That was the issue back at the old Flow offices on 5th Street. There were 2 tiny unisex closet-sized bathrooms that were available. And anytime that women are forced to share bathroom space with an office full of men, they get a little taste of how what they're normally insulated from, which is it's a very different thing to share a bathroom with men than it is to share a bathroom with other women. It's a very different type of a place.
Yeah.
So
It is. It's a strange thing, shitting. And it's an even stranger thing shitting with your coworkers and or like acquaintances.
But that's the thing is that we have stalls now. It doesn't bother me. I have no poop shame. That's the one thing I find interesting. My whole life is entirely regulated by shame. Shame about everything, embarrassment about everything. I've just never had any poop issues. I can poop anywhere, any bathroom. Don't really think about it. Just no self-consciousness about it whatsoever.
I can trace the point in time when my poop shame went away.
Wow.
And that was when we were all working on Artois the goat. And we were out at that fucking shack on the guy's property. And the toilet was a shovel and the toilet paper attached to it that would flap in the wind as you walked into the tree line.
Just walk out with the one shovel, the one roll of toilet paper on the shovel. I'm going to...
I believe there were actually some solid pictures of people walking into the wilderness carrying the flag of... Yeah.
Wow. That is,
they would disappear into the tree line. Sometimes they would come back, and sometimes they would not.
Deep into the spider forest. Deep into the spider forest.
That was the thing that was actually the best about that was like you'd go out there and you'd take a shit over a beautiful vista of cows and like nature and etc. And you just look over it and you go, this is really amazing.
Well, the squat position should be making it a lot easier to poop. But I also, for a very long time, was a never poop anywhere but home guy.
Oh my god.
That's twisted.
Yes. It was
a never nude.
A never nude, if you will. A never pooed.
I never pooed.
I was a never pooed. And, I had to get over that very quickly once I started regularly going to CrossFit. Helped me get over it because going to the gym, there's constant moments where you have to poop.
Hold on.
Just hold
CrossFit helped you get over it. So you went through all of like high school and stuff, never shitting.
Never once took a shit in high school.
Oh wow.
Same.
At school.
That's
Even
insane
college.
to me. That's insane to
Even
me.
college.
Yeah.
Never once at school on campus.
Oh Jesus.
I don't know how that's physically possible.
I went to school hours away from where I lived. I would wake up early, take a dump, drive, and be like, "This is it. I've shot my shot.
We're locked in."
I'm not until I get back tonight. I don't have any other opportunities, and I have evolved into a 2 dump a day guy.
Yeah.
So this is good. Now that I've gotten over my never poo.
They call that the circadian rhythm.
That's right. I have a very well defined circadian rhythm.
Yes.
And it was CrossFit. It was the fact that I had literally I'm going to shit. I'm going to shit. It's going to happen while I'm doing this snatch, or it's going to happen right before class. One of those 2 things has to happen.
Like I'm the kind of person who, at least now, who like I'll be in the middle of a workout at the gym and like, this is bored. I'm bored here. This is boring. I'm going to take a break. and I'll just go and poop, and then just come back and keep working out. Just for a change of pace, you know. It doesn't. Yeah, it's weird. I'm also. I feel #blessed just because like I realize now that there's this whole other dimension of anxiety that thankfully I somehow missed this one.
That's good.
My only element of anxiety is when I shit, I'm there for serious business. So it's the case that when I'm taking a shit, everyone in the restroom
Takes his wallet out and puts it between his teeth.
So both with smell.
He has a wooden spoon that he uses just for biting down on while pooping.
There's a midwife there tapping him on his brow.
Well, no, this is such a known thing that like every year for Christmas, Cliff gets a new shit spoon.
But what is it? Yeah. So both with noise and with smell, it's like I know that it's going to be known both to people who enter and ride after me and during the time that I'm in there. Everyone's going to know that I'm shitting. So I think it's that moment of awkwardness where you just have to make eye contact with the person, acknowledge that thing you're smelling right now, that's really horrible filling the room. That was me.
I did that.
That giant trumpet noise that just happened a couple minutes ago.
Just the elephant.
That's me.
Literal elephant in the room. The fascinating thing to
Wait,
me.
hang on. Is it a trumpet noise or is it like the Lord of the Rings like horn call?
Oh God,
Pause. Every time Cliff takes a shit, Gondor calls for aid.
Honestly, guys, that is the best case scenario. You know what the worst case scenario is?
Actual Oliphants.
No. The worst case scenario, and this is a serious
Timothy Oliphant.
you don't. The key is you don't want the noise of your shitting to indicate lack of health. I.e., if you know that's going to come out somewhat liquidy, I really want to hold on to that because I know that has a distinct.
Dude, that's real deep shit. That's a real deep shit. The fascinating thing to me about this, oh wow, this is a great thing to have just walked in on, by the way. The fascinating thing to me about this, that's Chase that just walked in.
Chase
you guys
just
can't
walked
see it.
in, everybody.
The fascinating thing to me about this is that much like any behavior that you are trying out for the first time, any little thing can take that anxiety instead of down to 0 to 100. And so, you know, you can imagine moments where the first time someone like me, a never pooed, is taking a dump before class in somewhere that's not my home. If I had like stepped out of the tiny closet bathroom and someone was changing in the locker room and they just gave me like a
quizzical
strange look, I would have never pooped again. I would still be full of feces from that moment because it just would have lit the shame inside of me.
By the way, it doesn't have to even be poop because I know exactly what you mean.
Sure.
Because I remember, so this is how small things like this can be. I remember I got, for the first time a few years ago, prescription sunglasses. And I would just never wear sunglasses because it was too much of an issue because I can't see without my glasses at all. But I finally got prescription sunglasses. I'm like, finally, and I would just wear them in the car and stuff. I moved to Hyde Park. I decided I'm going to start going on walks and rucks around Hyde Park. I'm going to go on walks. So sometimes it's a sunny day. I'm like, I don't want to like have to have my glasses in my pocket. I'll just take my sunglasses with me. But on my walks, periodically, I'm going to stop into a coffee shop maybe to get a coffee along the way, an iced coffee, continue my walk. But I would want to have my glasses with me because I'm like, I don't want to be one of those guys who like walks into a place but still wears his sunglasses inside. But I was like, that's a silly anxiety to have. So that's just a stupid thing to be worried about, and it's weird having some extra pair of glasses in my pocket. So one day, the first day ever, I decided to venture out with just my sunglasses. So I left with just my sunglasses. I'm walking, I go into Flight Path, which is a Hyde Park coffee shop. I get in line, and the customer in front of me finishes. The barista turns to me and says, "Looks like you're next cool guy."
No fucking way!
I have never worn my sunglasses inside ever again. Not one time.
Dude,
because
that is
after being
savage.
shamed, and it wasn't, she didn't even put that stink on it. She said it in like a polite way, but it was enough that it was like everyone's looking at the sunglasses.
They're roasting more than coffee.
The worst part is like she was actually trying to flirt with him.
Yeah, probably.
But
it
then
doesn't
like,
matter.
Like, why is that guy like he's never spoken to me ever again? Like,
because it's in your head. Like, is everyone looking at me because I'm wearing sunglasses inside? And she immediately confirmed it. I'm like, never again.
She's like, all right, Corey Hart, let's go.
And if that's the point, is that if I had worn them several times, out, gotten comfortable with it, and then had experienced that comment, I'm sure it would be fine.
Right.
But it happened to happen the first time I got called out, and it
That
just
is
locked
the
it
thing.
in.
If it happens the first time, you're fucked.
Yep.
Game over.
I was somewhat worried, when I first the short shorts, the Chubby's shorts, there started wearing them last year. I felt a great deal of anxiety first going out of the house in these things. I felt too exposed, felt the wind on my thighs. Had I had any single strange look or anything that day, I'd have never worn them again for sure.
Now
but alas, got nothing but compliments.
The fucked up thing is the inverse is absolutely not true. If you were to wear your sunglasses indoors and had gotten a compliment,
Yes.
that would not have been the, oh, well, I'm just going to do this from now on.
Yeah.
It only ever works in the, I'm going to cut down the entire foundation upon which you've built your life.
Yeah.
That it only goes in that direction.
Yep.
But
It's
with
like-
the chubbies, by the way, Cliff, you definitely should keep wearing them because,
Rock
thighs
on.
out. That's really what matters here.
I wore a pair of chubbies the other day while I was out, and I was like, I need to wear more of these. The thighs being out feels good. My thighs are very pale.
Ever since Cliff actually bought me my very first pair of chubbies,
Yes.
and ever since then, I feel like my thigh game has had to improve considerably. Like I've been
we should get a
very
sponsorship
conscious.
for chubbies on this podcast.
Oh, fuck yeah.
We're
Fuck yeah.
Yes.
But no, the crucial thing is that if in the days of yore, i.e. 2 years ago, all men's shorts were over the knee, yet all men such as us squat to develop our quads.
Yeah.
All hidden. It's like, what's the point? Why?
Yes,
it's
all
like
men.
men's physique competitors.
Hashtag yes all men.
yes,
Hashtag
all
yes,
men.
all men, yeah.
That's right. But yeah, so
I'm not Dorian Yates.
yes.
Building this perfect physique and yet covering it up.
Yes.
I want to wear short shorts. I
Yes.
want to show off my vastus medialis
Yes.
stuff.
Stuff. All
Have
that
you guys already
business.
talked about this YouTube comment? Hashtag gay for mullets. This is the first comment. whenever you guys
Yeah.
went live.
From whom?
Wait, the first YouTube comment on our live stream is hashtag gay for mullets?
Yeah, Nick Chime on YouTube. Armin
Nice.
getting that body back! Exclamation point.
Yeah.
Hashtag gay for mullets.
Yeah.
I love you, bud. I don't know who you are, but I love you.
Nice.
Thank you for that. That's
We got
really,
a link to Pornhub as well.
That's what I need.
It's asking me if I want to show or hide it. Show.
Kai, is there any way we can actually go live onto Pornhub?
Oh my God, let's do it.
Oh
my
would
God.
be. All right. Well, next week we're gonna try and go live on.
Does
as
Pornhub even
well
do
as-
live broadcasts?
Who gives a shit?
We'll figure it out.
out.
We should start our own Pornhub channel and begin uploading videos to Pornhub.
Yes. Yes. Stream live to Pornhub.
Yeah, but
I know that is done. Trust me, that is done.
I read an article about it in the New Yorker.
Yeah, a friend of mine was telling me about it while we were pooping in stalls next to
Yes.
each other. Yeah, so you know what, Chase walked in a little bit late. I know you have some food in your mouth, so I'm going to tee this up for you while you're chewing and swallowing
Thank you.
Chase came in late today. He was not here when we started, and he was not here when we started because Chase operates under the assumption that he is better than all of us.
Oh, is that what it is?
The fact of the matter is, he's going to regionals on a team,
true.
so it's really hard to argue that he's not.
In what by what metrics is Chase not better than us? Really,
That's a good point.
He's got the hair. He's got the sexy Instagram. He's going to regionals. What do we have? Nothing. Nothing.
I don't know.
You have tangible skills.
Yeah,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But Chase was actually out training with CrossFit your car. So how was team training? What did you guys do today, Chase? What was team training, regionals team training for CrossFit your car
quick,
like?
Daniel, play the team training update intro segment music. Whoops. Yeah, perfect. Let's do it.
We stole the ESPN.
No,
I
no.
guarantee you
Today
that
was
neither
pretty.
Cliff nor Kyle knew it was the ESPN thing.
That's true.
Today was pretty awesome for me and one other member of the team. We're like endurance gurus, right? So today what we did was like some interval work on the rower, so synchronized pulls. We, of course, being the most conditioned, set the pace for everybody else because we're dicks. And then
I don't think that's how teamwork works.
no, that's
But
actually
okay.
Fuck you
that's
guys.
actually not how it happened. The slowest was setting the pace, so it was
Yeah.
like a walk in the park. And then we had to do a team lift of the worm up to our shoulder and then sprint 50 meters or 50 feet with it.
Oh wow.
And then after we did that 10 times, each pair had to go 10 times, we did some interval work with running 200-meter sprints as a team. And then same thing with the worm, 50-foot sprints between each set of 200-meter sprints. and it was just a whole bunch of like bro sesh stuff after that. Like,
So how are your team synchronization skills coming along?
It's getting a lot better. Like if you would have saw a Saturday, you would have went, wow, those guys, like, what are they trying to do? Like maim each other with a sandbag, which is what we essentially were doing. But just over the course of like the last 2 days, I think we're starting to figure it out. Like it turns out if you all try to lift 600 pounds at once at the same time, it actually moves rather than doing it separately.
Yes.
So do you guys have a legit worm there?
Yeah.
Two. Huh.
Yeah, we have a
Haven't seen it.
6-person, a 4-person, and then we have a slug as well. And
I
the
wanna-
slug's the 3. It's supposed to be like 3 guys or 3 girls.
At some point, the Scale is Needed crew needs to do something with that worm.
Worm.
That's right.
Yeah.
For
There are 5 of us, and
It's true.
Kai can jump in as our 6th.
Yeah.
He's pretty fit.
Yeah.
He's an athlete.
And between Kai and us and Daniel, that's like 5.5 people. But yeah, we should do something with the worm.
Yeah.
What should we do? Everyone, suggest what should we do with the worm that's silly, and we'll just assume that they'll let us do it.
Yes. They would let us do it. I think
Yeah.
Michael's a pretty cool dude. I think he'd let us
Yeah.
do it. But
Speaking of, and also at CrossFit Yakaru, to touch on, when I was there was maybe 5 people in the entire gym, and when I went to go try to use the bathroom, there was someone in there. I don't know who they were.
there
but
always
they were
is.
occupied.
There
Yes.
always is someone pooping.
Callback. Yes.
I'm not saying it was me, but it could have been
It
me.
may have been Chase. He
Yeah.
was one of the 5 people.
Chase may have missed part of our shoot because he was pooping.
There you go.
There's 2 of me, and one of them at all times is in a bathroom somewhere.
Yes.
Um,
Just like the Olsen twins.
So team training is coming along, Chase.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel? Are you guys gonna win the regional or what?
That's our mentality, because there's not much point of going if you don't think you're going to win.
Goddamn right.
I like that. I like that mindset.
Yeah, definitely podium is the goal. Depending on what the workouts are, we definitely have a shot, you know.
And there are 3 qualifying team spots out of the region?
I think
There are 5.
Or 5, okay. So podium or 2 spots off podium goes to
After
games.
removing Andy and Orion, those are 2 people who go to CrossFit Karu but decided to go individual. After
Correct.
removing them from the team scores, do you guys know where your team stands?
We don't currently. The only way that we can look at it is like on the coach's side of, you know, whenever you submit your scores, they're able to remove scores, like hypothetically, they can remove them and then see where you fall. And right now, with their 2 scores removed, we land at 11th place, but that's, you know, taking in consideration that no other team in that top 10
Is removing
Is
their
removing
scores. That
scores
makes
as
sense
well.
because there's a lot of people that are going to be doing that. And on top of that, you know, there aren't very many gyms. There are a few, but there aren't very many gyms that have the experience of having sent teams to the games multiple times, and 2, worms to practice on. And you know for fuck sure that worms are going to be involved. And you guys have not just the worm, but you have like the 4-person and the 3-person version, which is pretty fucking garbage. But yeah, you guys have all that stuff.
And they bust that shit out a lot at fucking like
Constantly.
multiple events usually at the games.
I couldn't imagine trying to learn that on the day of.
Oh,
There's
you're
no
basically
fucking
just
way.
asking for a kick to the nuts. I mean, it's already difficult enough to communicate with one another. Like, oh, there's only so many synchronized movements that you can do, and then you throw in this like wrench of this fucking worm. The first year it showed up, people were losing their fucking minds because the first year it wasn't sandbags. It was
right, yeah.
it was
Logs.
actual
It was the
logs.
finger crusher.
Right. It was an actual log
with ropes between
that was
it. Yeah, yeah.
drilled through, that had ropes, like knotted ropes run between it.
Yeah, yeah.
And people were complaining of getting like crushing their ears
Yeah,
and
yeah,
getting cauliflower ear.
Oh, wow.
After the weekend, because they were literally just running a log up
Over
and
their face-
down
over their
over their
face.
heads,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
crushing their ears side to side.
We already got a member on our team that split his ear open just on the sandbag worm, and it was bleeding all over the bags last night. We had to like
little
wash
bitch.
it and shit.
How's that even happen?
There it is.
Oh, there's the original worm.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
That does not look fun.
That just
Dude,
looks like
looks-
hazardous on every level. There.
Oh,
Look
man.
at everyone has their fingers on the crushy spot
Yeah,
too.
everyone has their fingers on the crushy spot. All of the logs weigh the same. So, like, you know, that poor 130-pound girl and the 215-pound monster behind her.
And they all look like rough as shit.
oh, of
Wow.
course. They gave it a quick once-over before painting Rogue on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely come a long way. And I think that's one of the things that actually helps define CrossFit as a sport like a competitive endeavor that is its own thing is the fact that they have their own tools. Now, we have to ignore the fact that up until, I don't know, always the team competition sucks. I mean, it is like the most boring thing to watch. But maybe with 4-person teams and some specialized tools, it's going to be a little more interesting to watch.
Yeah. I mean, the 4-person teams are with the invitationals, right?
That's
where they
true.
do that. Yeah, the invitationals they're usually kind of fun-ish to watch.
But they're
Yeah.
funish to watch because it's the best CrossFitters on earth.
Very true.
Truth.
I went back and watched the invitationals so I could kind of get like an idea of maybe some of the events we could expect. And the only thing I really noticed is that Team Europe doesn't have a worm that they can practice on. They were all lifting that thing individually. Like Annie's like, I'm super strong, I got this shit. PKG's like, I'm gonna go when I'm gonna go. And it was horrendous looking.
Is it difficult to get used to where your hands have to go depending on which side you're on?
It's not now, but it definitely was to begin with, because it's kind of, all I have to think is like, if I want it on this shoulder, this is the arm that has to be lower, right? So this one reaches over. But it was very confusing at first because you just want to, like, I don't know, have your strong hand on top at all times, and then this doesn't work out.
Interesting.
And you know the second it doesn't work out because you go up and you're facing the wrong way. And you're like,
Yeah, you turn around and you're eye to eye with the person who's supposed to be behind you. You're like, I fucked up, guys. I really fucked up.
One element from, I think it was Invitational 2 years ago, that I really was expecting to see at the games, but isn't, or just one broad category of element, is they had a max weight, I think, stone cleans or med ball cleans there.
Yeah, they had the
clean
stone
ladder
series,
with stones.
yeah.
Stone series.
Poor Dan Bailey couldn't do it.
Yeah, what we're missing at the CrossFit Games is the max strength events. Always are with, Olympic lifty, whippy barbells there. We really, but whereas all of the strongman elements are just used for essentially lightweight high reps, we really do need to see the max strength events done with odd implements that no one's ever touched before.
Yeah,
that would be
Create
awesome
a new implement
for
max
me.
weight.
I'm with you. And here's a way that it can be done, by the way. This has been done in the past in Strongman, which is where they get their odd implement motivations from, if you will. In Strongman, they have medleys where you're given multiple objects and you do the same thing with each object. So, for example, it could be a pressing medley where it's like 4 objects. One is a block, one is a dumbbell, one is a fire hydrant, right? Or whatever. And then, or it could be a loading medley where it's like, sometimes it's the same thing, like it's a keg and they all weigh different things, but sometimes it's like some are kegs, some are sandbags, some are, farmer's walks or whatever. So like, there's medleys, and that's actually a really interesting idea of like, here's a strength ladder, but it's like one thing is a sack of bricks and the other thing is an actual fire hydrant, and this other thing is like a keg or something. So suddenly you're like, oh man, these guys, they can't have fucking practiced this, because that's really what the separator is, some of these events.
Yeah, and they did the what is it? That year they did those water cans. You remember? It was like it was basically just a farmer's carry, but they had no idea what they were going to weigh before they came up. The diameter of the handles was odd. I mean, that's basically, I guess. And then I suppose the pig was also sort of a new implement.
They're new implements, but I'm talking about like max strength, because we have all the new. There's tons of new implements included in there, but they're all done for, even though they're heavy-ish, sometimes they're done for a bunch of reps and a light-ish weight. Whereas really max strength on an implement that you haven't touched before, that's kind of brand new, that seems to be what should be the essence of, at least at the CrossFit Games level, strength there.
That does sound like the most possible dangerous way
to
do a max
But
effort.
it's a lot of money
it's
on
at
the
the
line.
end-
You've never
it's
picked this up before. It's going to be really heavy. And we're going to be very close to failure.
Well, one couple things. One, world's strongest man guys do it, although they sometimes practice with the implements a little bit beforehand.
the
Two,
safe sport of strongman.
But two, we're talking about the CrossFit Games level. I'm not saying do this at regionals, and obviously you can't do it in the open because you injure yourself at regionals, whatever. Pec is gone.
Coming soon, the Rogue Fire Hydrant.
But it's like at the
Matt Black,
CrossFit
everything.
Games, especially on the individual level, if you get a little bicep tear, it's like you have a whole another year to recover. It's fine.
One thing that I really enjoy doing, I haven't done it yet this year, but probably in a couple weeks once things start settling, before they start announcing any of the regional workouts, I like to come up with my version of the regional weekend. And
Fucking nerd.
yeah, super fucking nerd. Don't pretend like you didn't ever come up with regional workouts. Wouldn't it be cool if this showed up? Yeah,
Yep.
we all did that shit,
Yep.
and I still do. And the crazy thing is, I get paid to do it. That's the fun part.
That's true.
So, one thing that I would love to fucking see is more strongman stuff. So, I had an event that I would have loved to see, which was kind of like a yoke carry and handstand walk couplet.
Oh shit!
Which would be awesome.
We kind of almost saw that.
We kind of almost saw that. We saw the Strongman Fear event had like yokes, sleds, farmers, and handstand walk, right? So, that sort of thing, it will eventually trickle down into regionals. You'll eventually start seeing that type of event. And why not? Like, Rogue is providing all of this gear, right? And they have the capacity to. They already have yokes everywhere. It's not particularly dangerous, but it's way fucking tough if you don't practice with it.
So we haven't really seen these implements at regionals, is what you're saying.
Is
They've
what
only
I'm
been
saying.
at the games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to happen. At some point, the regionals style workouts are going to leak into the open, and we started seeing a little bit of that with like the heavy weights and some of the
that was really the
stuff.
I'd say there's a limit in that, just because by the nature of how the regionals competition works, it not being all on the same weekend, folks get a chance to practice those events ahead of time, and you don't want to price out folks from being able to practice them ahead of time, give them an unfair advantage so their gym has more money or resources to get a hold of a odd piece of equipment.
And for a lot of years, that seems like the what was interesting about the game. It's one of the things that was interesting about the games is the games where they unveil all the weird objects and the cool stuff that they couldn't have at the regional level. Plus, especially, I guess, but it's like it is interesting to see things filter down though, because what might have been considered an odd object, a couple years ago, like doing like one of those, like doing a yoke carry would have been odd several years ago. Now it feels like it would be fairly predictable and potentially executable on a region by region basis, because the productions are now big enough and professional enough that you wouldn't have to worry about people fucking up weird stuff by not implementing it correctly.
Right.
So.
And as well, I mean, we've seen things that were traditionally games type stuff filtering into regionals. I mean, regionals for a very long time had no running in it because they didn't have access to any running implements. And then, they started using Trueform, and I think I imagine this year they'll either use Trueform or Assault Runner. But either way, I mean, we're starting to see like, oh, you should expect to be able to have to run at regionals, and that wasn't a thing for a long time. It was just like, oh fuck, I made it through the open. All right, I don't have to run until after regionals. I'm just gonna lift a lot of fucking weights and do a lot of metcons.
Yeah, that was the thing. Is it also because the open was almost like the open, because the open used to be like so select for such lightweight, because they didn't really have a lot of heavyweight events in the open, that it's almost like the counterbalance to that was the regionals, where they would just roll out like 225 hang cleans and big deadlifts and all sorts of shit that was that would almost be selective against the regional stuff, or against what was in the open. So
yeah, 2012, 2013 were kind of the years they did that, where the open was so light and so engine-y that regionals kind of turned into like this like strange freak show. It was like you had to be very skilled, handstand walk, max snatch, but you also had to be really fucking strong, because they had super heavy deadlifts and like really heavy hang power
cleans.
cleans.
I remember there was a 235 hang clean.
225,
that hang. I love that hang clean workout. I think I did that, although there were pistols in it. I scaled the pistols, but that is fun as shit. Yeah, doing like a workout with like 20 plus heavy hang.
But I do remember it's so crazy to think about how the perspective. Remember why that workout sticks out in my mind. At the time, I was like, they're asking them to do 225-pound hang cleans at regionals. This is outrageous, and now it seems very, very tame.
I remember thinking, this is impossible. Like, people are going to do this workout. That's nuts. And then I remember seeing Matt Chan do it.
That's the one I remember, was Matt
Chan
doing
got like 14 reps in a row, and I was like, what the fuck is this guy made out of?
All I remember, the only image I have in my mind is Matt Chan doing that workout and just watching it and being like, I guess this is I guess this was programmed correctly.
Yeah,
it
is very impressive to see. It's crazy that we both remember that one moment as kind of the
making it look easy.
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah. And then was that the year that Matt Chan took second at the game?
12, I think.
Yeah, that was
2012. Yep.
Yeah, that
cool.
was the same
Good year for Matt Chan.
That was a great year for Matt Chan.
It was a really solid Matt Chan
before
year.
He exploded his leg.
Yes. Jesus, yeah.
And they say CrossFit's dangerous.
Mountain biking.
Mountain
is the
biking
thing.
is what you need.
If
to fucking
anyone
avoid.
has not watched that video that goes into his, did we do that video or did CrossFit do that video? I don't remember.
We did that video.
We did that video. Good.
It's called Matt Chan, The Return.
Matt Chan, The Return. We have a lot of returns here.
We have a lot of returns
and comebacks.
They all have the same title card, which is either Sparks or Snow or Chalk.
Yep, all
Yep.
those. Yep,
Wait,
all
did
those
we
things.
actually do that?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
that's
Phelps
fine.
shot it, and we edited it maybe from a freelancer. Anyway, but the point is, Matt Chan goes
Here it
into
is.
the
Well, after this
there he is, a
pre-roll.
Bigfoot. But the point is, Matt Chan, if anyone is not aware, like did this, like he like was riding his mountain bike. He falls, and the handlebar for the mountain bike like goes into the front of his pelvis. So like not his dick and balls, but like gets into the front of his pelvis, and as a result, he tears some like internal like artery or something in his leg. So his leg swells
Yeah,
up.
compartment syndrome.
Compartment syndrome. So like it's like some sort of like crazy traumatic swelling starts, and basically he's like air flighted to a hospital from the mountainside or something, and they basically tell him like, we're gonna go in there and try to save your leg. And in order to relieve the pressure, and here's the craziest part, because the pressure was, I think, just literally choking his leg to death, they just cut his leg open, like from knee to the outside of his hip, like the full length of his femur on one side, and it just opened up like a flower. There's even a picture, I think, that
It's great.
very tastefully included in the video.
I mean, I think they had to do multiple cuts, but what ends up happening, if I remember correctly, with compartment syndrome, happens in car accidents regularly, is that your fascia literally creates compartments within your body, and those compartments start filling with blood, and that like pressure into oh god, look at those scars.
Yeah, the scars are horrendous.
That pressure is what basically kills. Like you're right, it like chokes your appendage to death.
Yeah, but like when I say they cut him open, I'm talking about, imagine a like 18-inch long cut that is splayed open like
right over his IT band.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is 6 or 7 inches wide of just like where you can just like literally see muscle tissue, like fucking Hellraiser. You know, it's and it's like and he was left like that for a while just so that the leg could recover for some. They said that like nurses were coming in just to stare at his giant swollen leg. And, which is a real thing, by the way. I remember when I stamped my quadricep tendon, which I constantly talk about. Like after they had done the X-rays, and while I was waiting to be moved for more X-rays and stuff, they just a whole bunch of residents, like med students, just came in so they could stare and poke me in the knee and be like, "Oh my god, like your whole quadricep was torn off. That's crazy."
Like,
and talk to each other and touch each other.
Exploded? Huh.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Do we have a guy in the office that looks just like Matt Chan?
do we have a guy in the office?
I have no idea. I mean,
don't know.
I see him around, and now that I'm looking at Matt Chan, there's a guy at the office I feel like that looks exactly like him.
I'm not
and
seeing a resemblance.
I don't know, man. It's just the problem is I don't know a lot of the people we work with. So
What was the event where it was like some sort of CrossFit event where Matt Chan and Kristen Clever were on the field at the same time, and the announcers, who clearly didn't know anything about CrossFit, referred to Kristen Clever as Matt Chan?
That's Chan, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what I was.
fantastic.
I'm trying to remember. This is a thing that actually happened.
Well,
I'm
it
trying
had
to
to be either 10, 11, or 12.
No, it was not a games event. It was like some sort of exhibition event of some kind, where like it was like a rogue team or something. God, I can't remember what it was. But it was like there was an actual broadcast done. This is like early days, and so like and it just so happens because it was like men and women competing in teams or something, and like and so like for Team Rogue, like at the same time, the man and the woman who were on the floor were Matt Chan and Kristen Clever, and so then as Kristen kept getting reps, they were the announcers who clearly knew this is early days. The announcers were like people they found, I guess.
Yeah.
Sports
like, well, that
broadcaster.
Asian boy must
yes,
be
exactly.
Matt Chan.
The Asian the man must be Matt Chan. It was Kristen Clever. So
Wow.
funny.
That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
So last week we're gonna be right up against it here. We probably have another 10 or 15 minutes here. Last week I mentioned engine and strength work is really important this time of the season, and I want to just very quickly go into detail about it because I posted a thing about it on my Instagram, and someone said it's really good information, which is shocking. So I just wanted to be able to provide
Not from this
that.
podcast.
Right. So when we're talking about engine building, just about really anything, and Daniel's experienced this. We've all experienced this in some way or another, but mainly we experience this when it comes to lifting weights. Is this idea of like progression week to week or day to day or whatever? You know, when Daniel was doing starting strength, it was like every time you squat, you add 5 pounds. We've all done something like that. You can do the exact same thing when it comes to cardio. Now, Chase doesn't have to do this because his engine is already pretty fucking incredible.
Peak condition.
Peak condition.
His naturally body produces Enduroball.
Right. That's right. Naturally, his body produces Enduroball.
It's actually my blood.
But when you're like me and you want to get in better shape,
that's how you make Enduroball is you milk Chase. You get in the bucket, and you slosh it around. You pour it through a coffee filter. You want to get
Let's picture the first and last episode of the Dana Carvey show.
This is the second time in a month that this has happened.
That's disgusting.
And then you put it in, you dry it out. You want to lay it all out on a piece of wax paper.
Turn it into jerky.
You know, all in the wax paper. You put that in the sun. It's gonna get real crispy. Then you're gonna break that shit off and like get it, and then you're gonna pour it into a thing, and you got a powder. So then mortar and pestle, you're gonna pour that powder in there because it's gonna break it up. You're gonna grind up that powdered Chase milk, and then you're gonna want to put that in pills. And that's Enduroball.
That's right.
Guys, by the way, you just reminded me of something, which is the greatest thing from yesteryear. It could be pulled up as video here, but the Dana Carvey briefly had a show. I believe it aired for like one or two episodes, wherein I believe like the first sketch of the first show involved, it was a Bill Clinton thing, this back in the 90s. But the sketch involved, somehow the punchline involved Bill Clinton opening up his shirt and having six nipples and milking tits out of it. It looked disgusting, and that sort of was the beginning and end of the Dana Carvey show, just because it was so horrific.
By the way, you should watch. There's an entire like 90-minute Hulu documentary about the Dana Carvey show. Did you watch that? Yeah. But it's all in there.
I saw it live.
Yeah. But they basically, what's hilarious about that documentary is you realize Dana Carvey was the hottest property in the world. He wanted to do another show. They were offering him the Tonight Show and all sorts of things. And what he ends up going with, basically his agents negotiated their way into like network fucking prime time sketch show. And all the people he brings on are all the hottest comedy writers, Louis C.K. and Stephen Colbert and a bunch of other people. Actually, it was one of Stephen Colbert's real things. Oh, yeah. And they are so, they're all riding so high, and they think they're such hot shit that rather than actually trying to think about how to make the show, they just go and do like the most insane stuff. And like this is only the beginning. Like with what remaining episodes they have, they go hard into the craziest shit. And behind the scenes, Stephen Colbert was saying in the interview in the documentary that like they like decided like for one skit that they wanted to like have a horse fall out of an airplane. So they built an entire like horse and got an actual airplane because they said it was like 90s like network money. So they flew to like Kentucky, got in an airplane, he's standing in a field pretending to be a reporter, and they drop a fucking horse, and then the whole time that they're there, they're like going out to restaurants and eating like steak and lobster and all this shit just because fuck it. And that was anyway.
Now we have puppies drinking off of the nipples.
That's fucking incredible.
Hey guys, I think Efren's trying to troll us on the YouTube comments right now.
What's he saying?
He just said hi. Hi, Chase.
By the way,
I think he wants a shout out.
Efren,
hi, Efren.
Efren today, I want to point this out. Efren today went to the gym for the first time.
Holy shit!
In 15, were you doing this? What is this?
Yeah, and he's wearing a FloElite shirt.
Oh, nice.
Holy crap! Yeah.
Wait, he went to the gym for the first time?
He went to the gym for the first time in 15 years.
Whoa!
He said today, and now his legs are very, very sore because apparently, I guess Christian got him to do squats for the first time. He says he hasn't been to the gym in 15 years. And he is now sore. So we need to get Efren into that fitness life.
You need to be his personal trainer there. At least set him up on a program there.
Easy peasy.
I would
Follow
like to
one
see
of the programs on FloElite.
Is it the punchline to that he vomited?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. He vomited. Yes, as well.
Yeah.
I was
That's fantastic.
Like, this isn't an exciting story until you get into the vomit.
So he did some squats, and he did a little bit of fitness, and then threw up.
That happens to me all the time.
Efren needs to get his work capacity up. Not to Chase milk levels, but to at least Daniel levels.
Now back to developing an engine. Now that we've taken this aside.
If you were to take, say, Efren and want to bring him up, give him a kind of a natural Chase milk.
Doesn't apply to Efren.
No, I'm saying same content, that you were going to say, but let's instead reframe it more interestingly. If you wanted to generate a kind of natural chase milk within Efren, if you wanted to put some chase milk inside of Efren's body, how would we do that? Fitness advice. Go ahead.
Okay, so you want to think 2 to 4 workouts a week. You want to think at least one of those is long, like 40 to 60 minutes of just long rowing or running or whatever, biking. You want to go mixed intervals, anywhere from 30 seconds to 8 minutes. I mean, sometimes I'll do like 2-minute intervals. Sometimes I'll do 3-minute intervals. Sometimes I'll do 8-minute intervals. Sometimes it's shorter, like 30-second intervals. Either way, you can do anywhere from 30-second to 8-minute intervals. Each week, you are going to be making those workouts slightly more difficult. So maybe it's adding another interval or two. So for example, let's say if one week you're doing 8 by 400 meter run, the next week you do 10 by 400 meter run. Or another version of it is, let's say one week you do 800s with a 2-minute break. The next week you do 800s with a 90-second break. Same amount, but less rest. And so you want to create a progression. If you don't hit your workout, you repeat it. If you do hit your workout, you make it slightly harder. And you just do this for like 6 weeks. Take a deload week, test some shit, repeat as necessary. That is the simplest possible way to develop an engine. It uses the same principles of progressive overload that we use to get better at squats and deadlifts, pressing, benches, whatever. But suddenly, people I think lose their minds when they're like, well, I just got to Metcon constantly in order to get fitter. And it's like, well, if you keep Metconning constantly, you're going to get better at that as opposed to building a global base that's going to make you better at a lot of things. Because remember, the base of the pyramid of fitness, beyond, ignoring the nutrition portion, because, that shit's really fucking hard, is conditioning.
Yes.
You got to be conditioned.
Yes.
If you're not fucking conditioned, it's not going to happen. Period. Blood.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is a good way to build that.
Yes.
It's actually an interesting. There's one aspect of that got me thinking while you were talking, which is the idea of doing something for 6 weeks, assessing, and then doing it for another 6 weeks. And I mean this, and I am being serious, because I realized that when I was most on point with all of my, because like you can say what you want about like doing like old like 5-3-1 style like squat progressions or something like that, but at least it provided a structure, and I knew where I was in that structure, and then the structure would start over again. So it kept me accountable, but also kind of helped me organize my thoughts and my ambitions for my fitness. I think that maybe one of the things that I have been lacking is I feel like it's, so long as your fitness, at least mine lately, has been this just continuous forward progression with no shape to it. Just like I'll squat and I'll squat and I'll squat a little bit more, and I'll fitness and I'll fitness and I'll fitness a little bit more, without any shape to it. It can kind of feel like you're just a hamster on a wheel, and it's just going to go on forever and ever and ever. But if you begin to break it up, because I didn't think about this until just now when you're talking about do something for 6 weeks, take a week off, then do something else for 6 more weeks, thinking like maybe that's what's been missing from my life post-injury, is just blocking things out so it doesn't feel like I'm just on one endless death march to getting old. And
aren't we all
Yes.
on an endless death march?
That is the definition of life.
Yes.
That's true. But I see what you're saying, because I experienced the same thing. At a certain point, I just didn't want to get into the gym every day and do some sort of soul-crushing Metcon. Because I feel like there's only so much you can redline, and that redlining, it goes away after a while. Like after the first year and a half or 2 years of doing CrossFit, you don't walk into the gym and redline every time, because you cannot keep that going. It's only young glands can produce the chemicals necessary.
Depends how
continue
low
that.
your threshold is for redlining. Like, because I could keep that going forever.
I would argue that if you're actually getting into that zone, you're just not going to be able to do it. And at a certain point, I
redline during my warm up is what I'm saying.
That's a good place to be. At a certain point, you start getting to sort of like the more intermediate, advanced, masterful pacing of workouts, where it looks a little more effortless, but that's because you understand how to partition yourself and to set yourself up for success, to score well on a workout. But then the question becomes, once you have the wherewithal to learn how to pace yourself and the knowledge of how to maximize what you already have got going on, the second question, the most important question, is how do you actually get more to maximize? Because you can play with the tools you've got, but how do you get more tools? And that's why you do things like, I don't know, a weightlifting cycle or a engine building cycle or whatever. That's why you partition your year that way. I mean, it's no longer the case for almost anybody that I would say, hey, stop doing CrossFit and just lift weights, because that's just not going to get people anywhere. But at a certain point, you do have to start at least putting a little more effort into one thing versus another. And the whole idea of CrossFit being the main context of it doesn't need to be there. Like, I'm not super worried about CrossFit being my number one thing. I just want to be in good shape. Like, I like going to jiu-jitsu. I like doing CrossFit. I like lifting weights. I enjoy eating a garbage can full of candy every now and then. And the only way that I can justify those things and work is by working out as much as I can.
By redlining every day.
Every single day. And so I think it's really important, the same way that you see people like doing squat sets and it's like, oh, it's 3x5 at 80% or whatever the fuck it is. Like, okay, cool. Well, when you're doing intervals, I think what people go into is like, oh, I'm just going to run each of these 400s as hard as I possibly can. And then, oh, wait, my first 400 was, a PR, and my 8th 400 was
walking,
was 7.5 minutes.
Yeah.
That delta
which is my PR.
Which is that's not getting you anywhere, right? You have to find your 75, 80%, 85% and work within those ranges and build volume up over time, which is why you treat it like a progression. And that's why you actually want to take some time off every now and then, reassess, maybe pick something else up. Because you can probably keep doing engine work probably alongside everything else. You can do engine work plus any one other thing regularly forever, I would say. You can keep doing these progressions or variations of these progressions and add in, like, I'm still, lifting weights 4 times a week, or I'm also doing gymnastics, skill work, or I'm also doing positioning work on my weightlifting, whatever it happens to be. I think you can add, because a lot of the engine stuff, I think, ends up, feeding back into the system in order to, recover you and get you ready to go, for other things.
And often the engine stuff is less stressful on your body than some sick metcon where you're just like being crushed by a barbell and yanking your shoulders out of your socket on the bar.
True.
All the time. It's less stressful.
It's also, what I found is, even as someone who's done this sort of thing before, I find the effects of it to very quickly pile on. So, for example, like, I've been
That's because you're fitness.
I am fitness.
Yes.
Even after a few weeks, where some of the workouts I've missed and or not been able to complete as written, where I've had to repeat them, I've found that I'm getting less tired doing other things. I'm getting less tired doing jiu-jitsu. I'm getting less tired at other stuff in the gym. I'm recovering better. I'm not as sore all the time. So those things I think are really key. Like, it builds a base. And if you're not going to do nutrition, let's be honest, none of us are. You may as well do conditioning. You may as well do conditioning before you really do anything else.
Interesting. So what is a what's your like? Give me a 7-day breakdown of how your that long-term stuff, the engine building stuff, and your weightlifting stuff would look over the course of a given Monday through Friday or Monday through Sunday.
So I'll do something like if I can, I prefer to work out multiple times a day, but that's because I try and get jiu-jitsu in as much as I can, and the other stuff I can do at the gym all at once, whereas jiu-jitsu has to be its own session. So, ignoring the multiple session, the second session or the first session being jiu-jitsu, a typical workout would be like, either we have the gym next door has treadmills. So either I'll do a running interval there, but they also have assault bike, skier, rowers. So I'll do something there. So like maybe the first workout of the week, I like to do something between the 90-second and 3-minute mark as my interval. So I'll do like 400s, or I'll do 800s, or I'll do, like what I did today, which was 1 minute is 15 calorie row, 1 minute is 15 calorie bike, 1 minute is 15 calorie ski, rest 1 minute, and I repeated that 10 times. So that's one version of it, or it could be like 10 by 400 or 12 by 400, or on like at the top end before I kind of reset, it would go up to maybe like 14 or 15 by 400. And then that's when you either like look into doing mile repeats or 800-meter repeats, or just reset with a faster pace. So that would be one workout, and I'll follow that up with like squat and bench. I like to squat and bench maybe twice a week, deadlift once a week, do some
lower
weightlifting.
body squats, upper body squats.
Lower body squat, upper body squat. That's right.
I follow you on Instagram.
Thank you very much.
The dip is the upper body squat.
I don't know,
man. Bench is pretty upper body squatting. It's someone else tried to correct me and say it's the pec squat, and while I think that's cute, I think upper body squat is much better. It's like a shoulder press versus a bench press.
There you go.
You have your upper body squat and your lower body squat.
There you go.
And so I like to squat and bench a couple times a week, deadlift once a week, and do like one weightlifting session a week. So that's maybe like 3 of those. Then the other conditioning sessions would either be like row a 10K or just row for like 50 minutes, as many meters as I can. And that literally just looks like a Netflix show, pick a show and just go. So I'm not really paying attention to my pace.
You have that rower at home.
I have the rower at home.
Have the rower at home.
But
I need that.
But you can also, they have concept too. I think Rogue also sells a holster that you can attach to any monitor on a rower, and you can just take your phone and use your phone. So you can do it at any gym that has a rower.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea.
And then the last session of the week is probably something a little more high intensity. So it's like 30 on, 30 off on like an assault bike or something like that. Something where it's like quicker intervals. That last session I might also mix in more like a CrossFit-y thing where I'll do like GHD and burpees and rowing, or I'll always have some sort of monostructural thing in there, like rowing or assault bike or ski. But at the same time, I like including maybe a toast bar or like clean and jerks or dumbbells or kettlebells or something, just to mimic a workout. And those I aim for about 20 minutes.
Nice.
And that's about it. I mean, there really isn't. There is no. It's gross. It really is gross.
Yes.
I mean, it gets really gross.
Yes.
But
and sometimes you can also watch a shorter Netflix show.
You can also watch a shorter Netflix show.
Because I've done the Netflix and rowing thing, and the idea of I don't think there's any pace at which I can get on a rower for 50 minutes and stay on that rower. I can just do a whisper on the rower of pulling, and by about the end of that 25-minute episode of 30 Rock, I am toast. So.
I watched,
baby steps, everybody.
I watched the entirety of Punisher only rowing. So I mean, we're talking
that was the Punisher.
We're talking 10 1-hour episodes where Armin was sitting on a C2 the entire time.
Nice.
So yeah, that's it right there. That would be what a general week looks like, and I would strongly suggest people try and focus on some strength and some engine building. We didn't even get to talk about how shitty the solo trailer was, but we'll talk about it next week. It's not a big deal. Let's get everyone's plugs real quick and get the hell out of here.
I am at Mr. Kyle Bogart on the sexiest and most sensual Instagram account on the internet.
I am at Cliff Bogart on the whatever's the opposite of those, probably the Instagram account on the internet.
I am at a Supersonic Man on Twitter, Instagram, etc.
You guys successfully turned our YouTube comments into a Chase's Milk bidding marathon.
Hashtag Chase's Milk.
Well, now we know what the name of our
And Chase
future...
is at Chase Milk.
Yeah, at Chase504, hit me up.
Yeah.
$14.99 an ounce.
Hit me up for that Chase Milk.
And if you're in the Austin area, come to our new CrossFit affiliate, CrossFit Chase Milk, which will be opening at some point in the next year.
That's right. And I am at Armin Hoist. Thank you so much, everybody, and we will catch you next week. Later.
Later.